Welcome one and all to episode 18 of Pocket Edition. I am your host Sully. This is the bite-sized podcast where we like to pull apart the big topics of interest of the week and deliver it back to you in a tidy bite-sized form factor. Now, if you're listening to us through Twitch and you're wondering, well, where are the other 17 episodes? You will find them on demand and backed up on our YouTube channel, GameCast. All you have to do is search GameCast on YouTube and we'll be at the top of that search result. So please enjoy the back catalogue content we have for you there and readily available. Now today I'm joined by Casey, and I believe Casey has just recently joined GameCast as well, and more specifically our review team. So
that
keep your eyes peeled for Casey's reviews. Now before you say hello, Casey, has Max caught up with you yet? Max, the review team leader, have you had a chat with him yet?
I've had a little bit of a chat with him. We're going to be setting up more of the stuff tomorrow, but I'm really excited to be joining.
Oh, yeah, glad to have you, man. You seem like a very passionate and avid gamer, which is definitely what we want here at GameCast.
Well, of course.
And on the Max front, that lazy bastard. He should have already voice chatted with you by now. But, Casey, to jump into it, what are we talking about today?
So, we are talking about Subnautica, mainly for the simple fact that the sound developer, the main sound designer, actually, I apologize, he was recently fired for some really bad tweets he made.
Now, this is the Unknown Worlds developer who made Subnautica, and he was their sound designer for them, correct?
Correct, he was their main sound designer.
Interesting. Now, in a nutshell, he's basically been fired for some questionable actions on certain social media platforms, specifically Twitter.
Correct. He has made several tweets in regards to not just his game, but overall the general public.
Yes.
Including SJWs and gender equality. He's done, pretty much went everywhere.
Broad spectrum of offensive tweets, some would say.
Correct.
Now, I guess the question is, has he been fired, one, for basically just due to public backlash? Because let's bring to the forefront that these tweets actually happened in 2016. A lot of these tweets that are being referenced in a lot of the articles that I've read, at least anyway. And I believe a lot of these tweets have only just come to light now. That's the question. Has he been fired due to public backlash, or has he been fired because what has transpired on Twitter is generally and genuinely against Unknown Worlds' values? It just completely flies in the face of what they believe in, and they've just moved him on. They just believe his character and person is not fit for their studio.
I would say it's a little bit of both. The public backlash, you're right, it did start about 2016, and it's been a slow crawl, and it's been multiple tweets that he's made. There was one where, while creating the game, the main developer asked if they would like to either work on a female character to play as, or developing more into the core game.
Now, this was a tweet that Charlie Cleveland himself put out on Twitter. Now, he is the game director for the studio.
Correct. And he actually took this tweet down, I guess because he assumed he noticed how much backlash he could have gotten for that. Because it does kind of sound like either, hey, we could develop something.
Tongue-in-cheeky.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we could develop, a female body for all the people who want it, or we can work on the game. That's kind of how it sounds. I know he probably didn't mean for it to be that way, but it is how it sounds. And in response to him taking it down, the guy in question, when he made a reply to this, he said that there should be like a slider saying, make the character progressively darker, more feminine, and less sexy.
That's some serious tongue-in-cheek there, I personally believe.
Right.
But a little bit untasteful.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a big bad thing.
No.
But there's a whole lot of tweets he's made just kind of built up over the years. And especially with the full release of the game now, they're trying to make as much progress as they can. And it's just a simple fact that, especially with all this coming to light now, they had to do something about that. It is against their policy. They also are a very small developer, and they're trying to get their game out, and this could affect them very negatively.
Absolutely, because this is still in beta for those that are wondering. and has been, I believe it's only recently hit beta, is that right?
Actually, no, it hit full release.
Oh, did it? So it's just gone full release, right? So they're trying to have a release, and then all this crap's come to light, and it would seem, in my opinion, that they're just, tying off their loose ends and taking care of business with this guy.
Right.
I believe, say whatever you want on Twitter, be who you want to be, but at the end of the day, I think there's real-world repercussions for what you do and say, and he's had some very questionable tweets. I've got another one in front of me here, which is in regards to immigration. Claiming that importing random people from third world is also importing third world tier crime rates and IQ. So that's a little bit below the belt.
Yeah, there's...
it's quite clear that he's pretty loose with the tongue, and he doesn't really care how he brushes up, all these different movements and people's like social justice warriors and all that kind of stuff. Now, you could say, potentially, is the world becoming too politically correct? Does this guy fall in the basket of someone who is just maybe pushing back on that? Maybe. But it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, what he is saying is extremely controversial. The position he holds at Unknown Worlds as audio designer for Subnautica, which is a huge game, is going to negatively impact the publicity of that game and that studio.
When you're looking at the fact that you are working for a company like that, your Twitter account, if you want to make a private Twitter account, that's fine all and dandy. But the simple fact that you're working for a company, that you're publicly putting out tweets for that company, you can't just talk like this. Like, even with my channel, I would never ever tweet something like this, no matter how I felt, because it would negatively affect my own business.
Now, look, there's definitely cases of, big corporations just shuffling people along incorrectly. Absolutely. But in this regard, I think they've done the right thing. And especially, like you say, when you're interacting, when you're doing it on behalf of the studio, which I don't think he was. I think he was still doing it under his own private Twitter. The fact is, he's known to be the audio designer, and he's interacting with posts that Charlie Cleveland, the game director, who I'm assuming everybody knows what he's about. He's the game director for Subnautica. Everybody knows that they're in the same basket. They're the game devs for Subnautica. He's painting a negative image all over the game in the studio, essentially. So, how these tweets came to light specifically, I'm not actually 100% sure. I just know they've recently come to light, and as of February, which, as you guys know, we're in February. It's very recent. He was fired, I believe, a few days ago.
Of course, welcome to the internet. That tends to be what happens.
Yeah, and this was after the backlash that happened regarding these tweets. So someone's found all this crap. They've made it public. I believe the game, actually on Steam, surprisingly enough, was review bombed. It was. Yeah, so it got review bombed. Now, I'm not sure if this is in response to him being fired, or if this is in response to, hey, you need to fire this guy because he's a sexist pig who doesn't care about anything. I don't know.
It was review bombed for several reasons. That was one of them. The other one was a lot of people, it's mainly people who were wanting the female body that didn't get it full release. They were expecting that. So they actually bombed the reviews. They went to the forums and started bombing the forums, saying pretty much, where is the female body? I want to play as a female character.
That's a little bit mad. Review bombing is like a complete other can of worms, but please don't review bomb this game for whatever reason. The game is amazing.
Oh my god, it's so good. It really is.
Absolutely. You've played a lot, Casey, so you absolutely know. And you're looking at it on screen now if I've done my editing job correctly. But from what I've heard, the sound design that Simon Chilinsky, is that the first time we've said his name? We really should have said his name if we hadn't.
Yeah, his full name.
From what I've heard, he did an amazing job. He did an amazing
job. Oh my god,
with
the
sound
sounds.
design,
That's the sad thing. The sounds of that game are so good. I remember buying this for my laptop 2 years ago when it was early access. And not only was I amazingly impressed, it also terrified me because of the fact that you're playing in an ocean and there's almost nothing protecting you at the beginning of the game. And you hear all these sounds coming from everywhere and it's just like, oh my god, I don't want to be here right now.
Yeah, I've heard it described as kind of like, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but I've seen it described in a few places as like techno horror. Now that sounds horrifying to me.
Almost, because you're pretty much crash landing into an ocean planet. And you have your little life pod, and that's about it. And you have to start building your base, building your gear up from scratch.
That's so
And
cool.
sometimes you go off into the other areas, and you'll hear a new sound, and it sounds terrifying, and you're just like, oh my god, okay, I need to do this quick, and I need to get out. The
That
first
sounds
time you hear
amazing.
there's a Reaper Leviathan in this game that people are known, this thing is known in this game. And when you first hear it, it will scare the crap out of you. And you're looking around trying to figure out what this thing is, and you just see this huge eel-like creature with 4 fangs coming straight at you. It matches so
It's like
perfect.
one of those games I just want to play in the dark and just tune out, put the headphones on. Sounds amazing.
It is. It's so good. It's so sad that the sound developer did all this,
Yeah,
because I'm sure they wanted to keep him on.
absolutely. I'm sure he's still got plenty of friends there, and you know, a lot of people that work there probably don't even care what he does on his Twitter in his private time. But you know, you got to protect your public image, and this is what it's come down to. I believe he was fired due to the backlash.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, why wouldn't he have been fired previously? People would have seen. I mean, for fuck's sakes, Charlie Cleveland interacted with him on Twitter on multiple occasions where he'd, you know, a lot of these tweets are now being referenced as, you know, stuff that isn't quite right. To
Right.
put it mildly. So I believe he was fired due to the backlash from the public. You know, once they probably saw a few review bombs coming up, and you know all this came to light, they're trying to rectify and save face, which is a shame.
He had his chance. I mean, from what I've read, they've talked to him several times about this. I mean, like I said, a small developer needs everything they can get to get out there in the world, and they don't need any negativity whatsoever. So I'm sure they've talked to him every time that he's made one of these tweets. This was eventually going to come to bite him in the ass eventually.
Yeah, that's it. And we don't know what happened behind closed doors either. Like, he could have been on his first and final or third warning, you know, straighten
Right.
up, or we're going to ship you out. And maybe this was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And, you know, we see this happen all over the place. Like, I remember Naughty Dog had a bit of a internal sexual harassment claim that came up against them.
I
And,
remember that, yeah.
you know, there's always internal drama, that we don't know about. He said, she said. I think someone may have been fired there. Don't quote me on that. I might link an article down below if I can remember to look it up and find it. But, you know, these kind of internal dramas and battles happen all the time. But the point I'm trying to get at is you don't always hear the whole story.
Right. And of course, once it gets on the internet,
Definitely.
it just blows up.
Gets twisted, it goes all over the place, and you know, we're just spectators. You know, we can only comment on what we're seeing.
Right.
So it's an interesting one though, because it's a very fine line, I believe, between a big entity or corporation saving face and potentially mistreating someone, and them just being in the right. Which in this case, I think they were in the right to move him on, especially being
Yeah.
a small developer. I think absolutely he's said a lot of stuff that is very negative and just not up to snuff, I believe.
I mean, something I'm surprised by, there was not one tweet that I've seen made by him where he's actually apologized for some of the things he said. Like,
Yeah.
if something I say on the internet comes up negatively, I'm going to look at it from another point of view and go, oh, I see where this could be wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There was not one apology. It's almost like he meant everything he said, no matter if you could have taken it negatively, which...
He's failed on all counts, I think. But, you know, we've only given you 2 examples of his tweets, but by all means, it's littered all over social media and the internet at the moment. So go look it up. Make your own call and judgment.
Yeah, definitely.
Should we wrap this one up, Casey? Should we let these
Sure.
guys go? It's been a long broadcast, no doubt, by now. So, Casey, thanks for joining me again, man.
Oh, no problem.
It's great to have you on board with the team. We look forward to doing lots more projects with you in the future.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
Definitely. If you want to check Casey and his channel out, it's Your Random Gamer. You'll find him on YouTube. Now that's Your with a UR. He'll be linked down below in the description as well. And unfortunately, this is the end of the road for this week and this broadcast, as Pocket Edition is bringing up the rear as the last show. If you've missed anything though, we will be rerunning the broadcast in its entirety immediately after this episode wraps, or if you prefer, you can head on over to our YouTube channel, GameCast. Again, all you have to do is search it, will be at the top of the search results, where you'll find all of this broadcast on demand and readily available to watch at a time of your convenience. We hope to see you next Saturday for the next broadcast, or aka TV for Gamers. Until then, have a good one, guys.